Hey, hey, hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you are doing well. I thought I would come on here, onto the Lord's internet, to talk about my very first feature, a real featurino, not just a fake feature on a song made by my ears, a real ass feature from a real ass artist on a real ass record with other real features on it. In fact, the track that I'm on features contributions from Mr. Hudson as well as drums from Blink 182's Travis Barker. So pretty cool, pretty epic. So I thought it might be fun to come on camera here and talk about my own experience in regards to all of this. The record, as you can see over here, is from one Goody Grace, singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist. Don't forget where you came from. It is out now on Atlantic Records. I am featured on the closer, 21 and Jaded. Now, how all of this came about was, I think back in 2019. This kid emailed me out of the blue, and 21 and Jaded. Is he even 21 anymore? Because the song is so old at this point. He hit me up back in 2019 and just like, I don't know, cold emailed me out of the blue and said, I'm an artist. I have a record coming out on Atlantic. Frankly, I had never heard of his stuff before. He sent me his stuff. Some of his songs had a decent amount of traction on the internet, and I hadn't heard the song yet, but what I had heard for the most part sounded like a combination of trap aesthetics and singer-songwriter music. I mean, not too much unlike a Post Malone or a Lil Peep or something along those lines. What I was hearing wasn't blowing me away. It wasn't my favorite music in the world or anything like that, but I was still pretty flattered by the approach and the ask to begin with, and decided to ask for more information and wanted to know, like, what are you looking for? In what capacity would I even take part in this? And he said that he would prefer for me to contribute a bass line to this song that he has in mind. And I said, like, based on what? Do you see like videos of me on the internet going, and I guess he's just a viewer of the channel and was like, oh, I've seen you play bass in all your Let's Argue videos. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I mean, if the bass playing on my Let's Argue videos interests you in any way, then I guess you must know what you're getting. I mean, I'm not Thundercat. I'm not getting on the front end of my Let's Argue videos and I'm going full Victor Wooten. So from there, I guess I had one other major question, and I obviously had to ask. I said to the guy, like, you know that if I do this, I can't review your music. You know, I can't review this record that I'm on, and it's most likely going to put me in a position where it will be difficult to review your stuff in the future. And he said, yeah, I don't care. That's fine with me. That's not what I'm looking for, not what I'm interested in. And I said, okay, fair. He just basically, once I had said, okay, you know, I'm at least interested enough to hear the track, they threw this mostly put together track. Obviously, it's not 100% finished, but they sent me this mostly done track and said that I could do a couple of different things, just follow along with the bass line that's already there, come up with my own bass line. I could even come down to a studio and do it, and so on and so forth. And ultimately, I just said, look, if it's all the same to you, I'd like to come up with my own thing. And I have microphones and recorders and everything at home. I'd like to just record it at my place. And they said it was fine. And, you know, I agreed to whatever notes or suggestions they have, and just like, you know, pull apart the bass line or change whatever they ask for. If they come back with some ideas or alterations, just do that. And they did. You know, they had some alterations and notes, which I was happy to oblige on a second round of recordings. Took me a few nights with my Zoom recorder of, I think, miking my bass amp, but also doing a direct into at the same time to really get it right. And then I think I assembled some of those pieces into a DAW to make sure I got like a fully, you know, fluid single kind of take and performance of the whole thing, and passed that in. Pretty much a breeze in terms of like recording and sending it in on my end. I didn't really have to deal directly with anyone other than Goody himself. There were a few industry people on the back end of all of this that I needed to interact with in order to actually get paid for the feature because I needed to get set up for BMI, which ultimately, if you're a musician, a songwriter, in anything, you kind of have to get set up for. They end up being sort of a middleman between you and the label or whatever entity that it is that has to pay you. I don't need to be going to Atlantic Records being like, pay me, why haven't you paid me? That's like on a BMI to do, essentially. So that's not even something I need to really think about, thankfully. There's a few different entities like this that artists and musicians and songwriters could sign up for. ASCAP is another one. But yeah, I submitted that bass line toward, I think, the end of 2019 or so, and then really, obviously, with the record coming out just this month, this past February, waited quite a long time. And a lot of that time was spent like wondering if the record was actually ever going to come out or anything. Not to say that the guy left me hanging out to dry or anything, because ultimately it's his album. It's his album that he's working on. And at the end of the day, if he at some point decided to not even use the bass line at all, that's ultimately like his decision. It's his record, and whatever. But yeah, to describe the song itself a little bit, when he first sent it over to me, obviously it's not the type of thing that I'm giving rave reviews to in a lot of my videos from day to day, but it's a decent tune, and I guess if I had to describe it with a vibe, I would say it's like very much a sad modern teen flick credits rolling kind of moment, which is pretty fitting as a closer, especially with Travis Barker's drumming. There's a supremely Blink type of vibe on this song. I mean, there's even technically a Blink feature on this album earlier on the track Scumbag. So there is a really clear Blink influence on this track, and I wanted to do my best to serve that. I picked up my electric P bass. This is not my P bass. This is my Fender Jazz bass, but I have a P bass. I picked up my P bass because I know Mark Hoppus plays a P, and have some nice, loud, chunky strings on there, and tried to come up with a somewhat busy bass line to fill up the melancholy space of the song that I could imagine Hoppus like playing with a pick or something. There's ultimately no right or wrong to this necessarily. They originally gave me a bass line that, again, they said that I could emulate, or it was mostly just like the root notes of the 3 chords that play throughout much of the track. And if I stuck simply to that, that would have been a fine bass line too, if that's the approach that you want to take. More of a minimal, straightforward, low-key approach, that's okay too. Ultimately, it was my decision to play it a certain way, and it was Goody Grace's decision to include it. And there were actually a few points that, according to, them, were a little extra, a little too much. And they wanted me to, simplify a few bits or sort of stay more on the low end rather than kind of like, going up the neck into, a bit more of a solo range or so. And, I said, okay, fair. The final version was slightly different than the one that I had passed in, because there were a few points where I feel like they broke up the bass line a little bit in post. Ultimately, I think that was kind of a good move. So yeah, that's essentially the track in a nutshell and my participation in it. I thought it might be fun just to kind of like play a bit of a simplified or slowed down version of the bass line itself. It's kind of the main bass line in a nutshell. There are a few variations that play along the track, but that's really kind of the main one. But yeah, that was essentially my my approach there. The line, the record, the song, and hopefully this came through and filled you guys in on everything that kind of happened and made this come together. And yeah, try the track out. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and got some insight from it. And yeah, you're the best. Anthony Fantano, my first feature. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up, or the link to subscribe to the channel forever.